Dear members of the Government Commission, dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, the purpose of the meeting of the Government Commission on flight testing of the manned vehicles is to review the results of training of the space rocket with the transportation manned vehicle Soyuz MS-11 at the launch pad and review the proposals for the prime and backup crew members. Earlier, the Government Commission, on the request on the chief organization on main corporation RC Energia and the chief designers upon reports of the technical condition of the International Space Station, results of the preparation of the vehicle and the rocket and the reports of the ground services, decided to launch on December 3, 2018, manned space vehicle Soyuz MS-11 with the next expedition to the ISS. Yesterday, per the schedule of the launch prep, we performed integrated testing of the vehicle and the rocket at the launch pad. I'm asking the Director General of RC Energia to report. Mr. Romanov, please. Good afternoon. Yesterday, at the launch pad, we performed complete operations of preparing for the first launch day. We do not have any issues. Space rocket complex with Soyuz FK rocket and space vehicle Soyuz MS-11 is ready for further operations. That completes my report. Report of the head of the Science Research Cosmodrome Training Center named after Yuri Gagarin. Dear Dmitry Olegovich, dear members of the Government Commission, good afternoon. In order to complete the space flight for Expedition 58 to the ISS, we trained the following crew members. Prime crew, Kononenko Oleg Dmitrievich, Roscosmos cosmonaut, commander of the transportation vehicle Soyuz MS-11. Commander of ISS 58-59. David Saint-Jacques, CSA astronaut, flight engineer, the Soyuz vehicle and the ISS increment. And McClain, flight engineer 2 of Soyuz, NASA astronaut, flight engineer of ISS increment 58-59. Backup crew, Alexander Skvortsov, Roscosmos cosmonaut, commander of the Soyuz vehicle, flight engineer of the ISS crew. Luca Parmitano, ESA astronaut, flight engineer of Soyuz MS-11, ISS flight engineer. Andrew Morgan, NASA astronaut, flight engineer 2 of Soyuz MS-11, ISS flight engineer. The training program of all the crew members has been completed in full. All crew members have passed their tests and completed their integrated examination training. Per conclusion of the Government Commission, all the crew members have been found to be fit to complete spaceflight. Interagency Commission has reviewed the results of the training program completion and has released the conclusion that crew members 58, 59 long duration increments to the ISS are ready and trained for operations on the ISS. And taking into consideration the above, we recommend to approve prime crew members, commander of the vehicle Oleg Dmitrievich Kononenko, flight engineer of Soyuz David Saint-Jacques, and flight engineer 2 of Soyuz and McClain. Backup crew, vehicle commander Alexander Skvortsov, flight engineer Luca Parmitano, flight engineer 2 Andrew Morgan. That completes my report. I would like to announce the draft decision. Oleg Petrovich Skorbogatov, please. Dear Dmitry Olegovich, dear members of the Government Commission, dear colleagues, we are announcing for your attention the following draft decision. Having listened the reports of the completion of preparation of the launch facility and the recommendations for the prime and the backup crew for Soyuz MS-11, the Government Commission has decided, item number 1, to approve the following crew members for Soyuz MS-11. Prime crew members, commander of the vehicle, Kononenko Oleg, flight engineer David Saint-Jacques, flight engineer to N. McClain. Backup crew members, vehicle commander Alexander Skvortsov, flight engineer Luca Parmitano, flight engineer 2 Andrew Morgan. Item number 2, continue preparing the rocket launch complex for the launch at the designated time. Dear colleagues, are there any recommendations or proposals? If there are no other proposals, then the decision of the Government Commission is approved. Next, I would like to ask to speak the Executive Director of Roscosmos Government Corporation, Sergei Konstantinovich. Dear members of the Government Commission, dear astronauts, dear cosmonauts, we have completed this stage of training. You have very responsible work in front of you. Your training was somewhat non-standard, and your flight is not going to be an easy one, but I understand the training and the efforts you have invested, and your instructors who work with you, and the specialists, engineers who prepared the equipment and components should show in the results of your flight. You have a responsible task to perform an EVA very soon after your docking. You will be flying with the abbreviated number of crew members on board that used to be a standard crew complement, but now you have a lot of work on board. But I believe that your knowledge and your qualification level will be helping you. Good luck, guys. I'd like to ask ISS Program Manager of the NASA Space Agency, Kirk Shireman, to speak now.
Dear members of the Commission and dear colleagues, it's a great honor to be here, a great pleasure to be here with you today. First, Alexander, Luca, and Drew, congratulations on completing your backup flow. Your time will come very soon when perhaps it's a little warmer outside. Oleg, David, and Anne, congratulations also to you on completing your flow and being ready to fly in space. All of you did an outstanding job to complete your training actually earlier than had been anticipated. So I know it was extra difficult on your part as well as on all the trainers to be ready in this shortened time frame, but congratulations on completing that work. So David and Anne, I know it's your first space flight. Of course, you have a very experienced commander on board and 3 friends on orbit who will help you out when you arrive. Unfortunately, you have a very busy time right from the very beginning with a Russian spacewalk on the 11th. We're going to send a SpaceX cargo vehicle to you very quickly after your arrival as well. Shortly after the 20th, there'll be 2 spacewalks for you, perhaps a SpaceX uncrewed crewed flight for you to dock and work with. All this with a very robust research program, over 238 different investigations, 82 of which have never been conducted on ISS. So a very, very robust amount of work for you to be done, and unfortunately a reduced crew. So I know you're up to that task and look forward to watching you on orbit. So take some time, though, also enjoy the unique vantage point you have on this Earth, and know that all of us here on the planet will be with you. So all the best, and we look forward to your mission and your soft landing back here in Kazakhstan.
I'd like to invite the ISS Program Manager from CSA to speak now.
Members of the State Commission, cosmonauts, astronauts, partners, friends and colleagues, it's an honor to be here representing Canada at this table. In fact, from a Canadian point of view, it's actually a privilege. And the The first thing I'd like to do is I'd like to thank all the people that are involved to bringing us to this moment, both in terms of the thousands of people that it takes to make ISS happen, and the people that most recently have worked to make this event happen. And that includes people like Chad and Yevgeny, Andrea. I want to make sure that people realize that people pull out all the stops to make things happen and to achieve what we do on this program. And of course, I want to thank our Russian colleagues who've demonstrated absolute excellence in terms of what they've been able to do with recovering from the previous incident and even accelerating the program and accelerating subsequent vehicles in those considerations to get us back on track and do the things that we've come to expect on an ISS program. And I think fundamentally that attitude leads to achievement, and that achievement leads to making history, which is I think what we do. It's a privilege to be part of the partnership. I wanted to point out how important that partnership is for Canada and what it does for us and how it elevates us. We're very proud of our astronauts' achievements, and we're very proud of the accomplishments that we've had with our robotics and with our science. And my last message is to the astronauts and cosmonauts, which is to you. I think you have the humility to realize that you stand on the shoulders of giants, and you've earned the privilege to do that. You are our champions. And more importantly than that, you are also the heroes to our children. And I think with that, the circle continues with the inspiration and the innovation and the continued achievement. And for that, we thank you.
Would like to invite head of the Baikonur City Administration, Mr. Busygin, to speak now. Dear Government Commission members, dear cosmonauts and astronauts, I would like to congratulate Oleg, Kononenko, David Saint-Jacques, and McClain on the approval as Prime Crew to the International Space Station. For the first time, to those members who are launching for the first time, David Saint-Jacques and McClain launching for the first time from Baikonur launchpad, would like to give the golden symbols of Baikonur. Would like to wish you to have those as your lucky tokens. We wish you an easy flight to the ISS, fruitful work, and successful return to the ground. Godspeed. I'd like to invite Deputy Head of the IBMP to speak now. Mr. Gazhnikov, please. Thank you. Dear Prime and backup crew members, as it is the tradition, I would like to congratulate you on the successful completion of your training on behalf of all the medical specialists who participated in the training and checking you. And I would like to assure you that your condition of your health will allow you to complete the very intense work program. Oleg and David, you have a very interesting crew. A helicopter pilot and pilot, engineers, and medical specialists. I think you will complete your work. I understand there might be a certain psychological intensity, but I think everything will go well. Alexander, your crew members, just makes my heart sing looking at your crew. You have completed your mission. I think the psychological environment in your crew is very good, and we will meet you soon again. All the very best. Bye. Oleg Dmitrievich, please. Dear members of the Government Commission, the crew is ready for flight on the space vehicle Soyuz MS-11 to the International Space Station. On behalf of the crew, I would like to express sincere appreciation to everyone who was preparing and training us, preparing all the technical assets. Alexander, Luca, Andrew, a special thank you to you for your support and psychological support at the final stages of our preparation. We're wishing you timely launch to the ISS. I'd like to ask David Saint-Jacques, flight engineer, to speak. Thank you. Dear Commission members, of course, I agree with my commander. I would like to say thank you very much to Roscosmos, to NASA, and the Canadian Space Agency for this rare opportunity for me to represent my country. And of course, during training with my crew members, we became like brothers and sisters. We would like To give an example, when all the countries work together, we can accomplish incredible things. This is a very good example for all our children, what we accomplished together. And I think I also owe words of appreciation to my family members. Without their support, I don't think I would accomplish anything. And McClain, please, your turn. Thank you. This space flight is a unique opportunity. I am very glad to be flying with David and Oleg. We are looking forward to our launch. Thank you very much, everyone, for your support. We're ready for flight. I would like to invite Commander of the Backup Crew, Alexander Skvortsov, to speak now. I would like to say that I'm incredibly proud to be the backup crew. For the crew members I have learned a lot from. You see, it's never too late to learn. I would like to say, Oleg, thank you very much to your crew, because certain things I took as my future guidance. Luca Parmitano, please speak. Dear Commission, friends, even though we're not launching tomorrow, it is a great honor for us to be here with our crew members, with you. And I am proud. We're all proud. I would like to say good luck. I'll explain later. It was in Italian. Flight Engineer 2 of Backup Crew, please speak. Andrew Morgan. Thank you very much for the opportunity to participate in the Russian space program. I have deepest respect for the traditions and the experience. We're ready to follow in the footsteps of the prime crew and to fly to space in 7 months. They are setting a very good example for us. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much to everyone for everything. Dear Oleg Dmitrievich, Anne, and David, on behalf of the Government Commission, please allow us to congratulate you on approval as prime crew members and wish you successful completion of all the tasks and assignments on board of the ISS and successful return to Earth. Congratulations. Good afternoon. Hello.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
In accordance with the flight program, launch of the Soyuz vehicle is scheduled for December 3rd at 14:32 Moscow time. A Soyuz MS-11 is going to be launched into orbit with the crew members of increment 58-59 to the International Space Station. 30 minutes ago, the Government Commission has approved the prime and backup crew members. Please allow me to introduce you, Commander of MS-11, ISS, increment 58-59, duration crew, Oleg, Kononenko, Russia, flight engineer of Soyuz, flight engineer of the ISS David, Saint-Jacques, Canadian Space Agency, flight engineer 2 of Soyuz MS-11 vehicle, flight engineer of the ISS, and McClain, NASA. Backup crew members, commander of Soyuz vehicle, flight engineer of the ISS, Alexander Skvortsov, Roscosmos, Russia, flight engineer of the Soyuz vehicle, flight engineer on the ISS, Luca Parmitano, European Space Agency, Flight Engineer 2 of Soyuz and Flight Engineer 2 of the ISS, Andrew Morgan, NASA, United States. We have introduced the crew members. I am looking forward to interesting questions, and I think we have the first question. Nikolai Dovin, Roscosmos Television Studio. Oleg Mitrovich, could you tell us how your training was going on? Please provide some details. What kind of survival training did you go through? And were there any changes in the crew member complement and why your program is going to be more intense? The crew members get ready, start training for their increment about 18 months prior to launch. Originally, we had Serena instead of Anne. Serena is currently on board of the ISS along with Alexander Gerst and Sergei Prokopyev. With David and Serena, we participated in winter survival training, in water survival training, and performed integrated training on the vehicle and station mock-up later on. Serena was advanced to the crew that is currently on board, and then they introduced Anne McClain. She became part of our crew pretty fast and integrated smoothly without any issues because she had been training. Prior to that, David and I welcomed her and helped her become part of our crew. We were backup crew members to 56, 57 crew. We had to also work as backup crew members to 57, 58 crew because it turned out that David and I were more advanced in our training. It impacted our training in terms of intensity. And then certain events we all know about happened, and our launch got advanced by almost a month. That made our training even more intense. Thank you. Next question, please. Hello, Anna Samolenko, Yuzhny Television Center. Continuing the question about the intensity. You also mentioned that your flight is going to be intense, so you're going to have an intense flight program. Could you give us some details? Thank you. After, as I'm hoping for our docking with the ISS, we're going to have a long working day. It's going to continue all the way to December 20th because we will have to complete a large number of experiments that will be returned to the ground by Sergei's crew. In addition to that, during that handover time interval, we have an EVA scheduled on December 11th. That is what I mean when I'm saying it's going to be intense because we're going to have a lot of work. We're going to have a lot of science experiments and also preparing for EVA. Thank you very much. Next question. Good afternoon, Maria Finoshin, Russia Today television channel. Question to all crew members. You are launching after the known events to the ISS. How are you feeling about it? I understand you had additional training, but overall, do you feel more concerned, maybe scared, or you're calm? I should say that risk is part of our profession. We go through a lot of training when we prepare for different phenomenal situations. We understand they can happen during space flight. We need to deal with that. But we understand that both the vehicle and the rocket are being assembled, and they're working hard to make sure they're careful. They're working hard to follow the technical procedures and documentation. They understand people are going to launch in that vehicle on that rocket, and we trust them completely, so we're psychologically prepared for the launch and for any issues that could, God forbid, happen on the vehicle.
As Oleg already said, risk is an inherent part of our jobs, and so the outcome of the last flight doesn't directly correlate to how we feel about this flight. We feel very ready for it. We're very confident in Roscosmos and the investigation that they conducted and the independent investigation by NASA. There were 3 important questions to be answered prior to clearing us for flight, and that was figuring out what happened, why it happened, and how to prevent it from happening again. And until those 3 questions were thoroughly and accurately answered, our flight was not going to be readied. We've had multiple launches since that time. Those questions were thoroughly answered by independent agencies, and we are ready to go, and we're not thinking about that.
And if I may add, I was lucky to be here to witness that launch that didn't make it to station. And of course, our first thoughts were, is the crew okay? And the crew was perfectly okay thanks to the incredibly safe and redundant design of the Soyuz spacecraft. It's actually, as crew members, I would say almost a reassuring thing to witness how even in such dire circumstances, high in the stratosphere, failure, still they came back to Earth, to their family, completely safe. So in a way, witnessing that event to me was actually reassuring in the smart design of the Soyuz and the incredible work that the search and rescue people here on the ground can do, are ready to do every launch. So.
And to continue this question, Oleg Dmitrievich, you probably met and talked to Alexei Ovchinin crew. They probably told you about their impressions, shared their experience. You were there at the launch pad. You saw it all, correct? I saw the crew. Of course, we talked. We had a long conversation. We discussed it. But nothing special. It was just a professional men's discussion.
Rob Navius with NASA Television. I have 2 questions. The first for both Anne and David. Both of you and Oleg will find yourselves arriving on the station with barely a minute to lose before you're involved in the arrival of a SpaceX cargo ship, the possibility of multiple spacewalks, a plethora of research, and the potential of inaugurating the commercial crew transportation era. How do you sense this moment in the evolution of space station from the perspective of first-time flyers?
So 2 parts to the answer for that, Rob. I think personally, I'm very excited that we have all of these missions coming up when we get there. I'm happiest when I have way more tasks than I can, think about doing every day. So I think busy is a good way to get there. We're going to be able to be exposed to a lot of different tasks on the space station very early on, and many of those in our handover period, which is going to be critical. Having that 2-week period with being able to pull the knowledge from Alex and Serena and Sergey before we are on station. For the few months. Professionally, I think it's an interesting cross-section of tasks because I think it really highlights what we're doing in the bigger picture in the longer term with the space station. We have visiting vehicles from commercial crew providers who will in the future provide crewed spaceflight. And as you mentioned, perhaps very soon seeing their uncrewed vehicle on station. SpaceX that is arriving to station has a plethora of science experiments for us to do, life science engineering experiments, and then just basic life support for supporting 3 astronauts going out of their 21st year continuous on the space station. So I think it's a pretty exciting time, personally and professionally.
If I may add, I think as astronauts and cosmonauts, there's nothing we could wish more for than to be busy with important tasks. That's what our job is all about. And also, well, as rookies, Anne and I, anyway, we don't know any better. We don't know what the standards are, so this will be our standard.
And just to follow up for Anne, you're relishing all that work, obviously, but you will be a 3-person crew for just a touch over 3 months. Have you discussed how you plan to parcel the work out so that it all gets accomplished?
Yeah, that's a good question. One of the big things that we've been talking to some of the more experienced astronauts and Oleg with is kind of how we can work our days to maximize our time. And so we'll be talking to Alex and Serena a lot about that, on efficiencies that they've found. I think the most important thing that we can do is, since we're not going to have a long handover period, typically, we're there with them for 3 months, we're going to have a very short period. So it's important that when we take the baton, we're ready to sprint. And so we are going to be asking about efficiencies early and often. Our ground team is aware of it as well. And we also fully understand that our ability to do the work efficiently directly contributes to the science, because the maintenance of the space station doesn't change with how many people are up there, but the hours that we can put toward our science experiments does. And so, both of us are very aware of the importance of getting to those experiments, so we will be looking for those efficiencies.
Tamara Teresco, Radio-Canada. Monsieur Saint-Jacques, bonjour. I will repeat in English for the translator. Je ne sais pas quelle question on pose à quelqu'un qui s'apprête à voler vers l'espace. Je ne sais pas ce que vous voulez qu'on vous pose, mais moi, ce que je suis curieuse de savoir, c'est votre état d'âme. Vous dites tout le temps que vous êtes un humain, un terrien avant tout. Ça vous fait quoi comme humain d'être assis derrière cette vitre devant votre famille, vos parents, vos enfants, être le modèle que vous êtes pour eux, mais aussi le sacrifice et pourquoi vous le faites? I'm asking him, how does it feel to be sitting here as a father, as a son, the model he's becoming for them, but also the sacrifice?
Merci pour la question. En français d'abord. Donc, écoutez, c'est une source de beaucoup de fierté pour moi d'être comme ça, le représentant de tous ceux que j'aime. Et je me sens comme n'importe qui part en voyage, un peu pour la première fois. Donc, je suis curieux de voir ce qui va arriver. Je me suis préparé du mieux que je peux, mais dans le fond, je ne sais pas vraiment entièrement à quoi m'attendre. Mais je sais que je suis porté par la vague d'enthousiasme et d'amour de tous ceux qui restent derrière. Et je porte leurs rêves avec moi. So in English, of course, it is a privilege to be here. It's very humbling to be here as a representative of some people that I love and I trust, my family, friends, colleagues, everybody behind the space program. And I feel, I guess, like anybody who's going on a trip for the first time. I've prepared as best as I could. I don't really 100% know what to expect, but I will do my best to be successful, and I will carry with me the dreams of everybody who stayed behind, and I will do the best to share the experience with them.
И вот сейчас продолжение этого вопроса.
And now to continue this question, Oleg, David,
Присутствуют ваши родные, близкие.
you have your family members here. Would you like to wish your children the same career as you have now? Or do you think it's a little bit complicated? I would like to wish them that they find their job, their purpose in life, and that they're successful in their career.
I will just translate what Oleg answered because it's the right answer. I wish, of course, for my children to have the chance that I had, which is to find your path and to follow it. Et en français, je souhaite à mes enfants d'avoir la chance que j'ai eue de trouver leur voie et d'avoir la chance de la suivre du mieux qu'ils peuvent.
Good afternoon. This is TASS News Agency. Question to Oleg Dmitrievich and David. You have an EVA planned. Do you have the understanding when it's going to be scheduled? And do you know what you're going to do, if you have any details for the tasks during the EVA? And a question for David. Since your first education, you're a doctor, medical specialist, you probably have some plans on board of the station to perform some medical experiments. Could you tell us about it? Thank you. An EVA is a very serious task, so it's not planned at the very last minute. So the EVA timeline already exists. The date is December 11th. The main purpose of the EVA on MS-09 Soyuz vehicle cut out part of the MMOD shield that was possibly touched by the drill and return that part of the MMOD for investigation on the ground. They developed a special timeline for that purpose. And it's scheduled step by step, minute by minute, because an EVA is a very complex and potentially hazardous operation. Potentially, if the time allows, we're going to perform 2 science tasks. But the main purpose is to translate to Soyuz MS-09 and return part of the MMOD show to the ground. As you mentioned, I am a doctor, and I worked in small remote villages, and it was a very important experience for me to provide medical aid on board of the station when they're far away is a complex task. It is as complex as providing medical aid to people in remote locations. So telemedicine is a very interesting, a very important subject for me. Telemedicine is one of the research tasks for the CSA. And also some experiments to study the effects of zero gravity. That would be very interesting as well. David has again demonstrated his excellent knowledge of the Russian language. Oleg Dmitrievich, we noticed that your crew members spoke really well in Russian, and the backup crew members spoke Russian really well during the government commission session.
I really appreciate what you do. It's really amazing for me. But I wanted to ask you about the Soyuz rocket and the Soyuz spacecraft. At the moment, this is the only way to get people from Earth to the International Space Station. How do you feel about it, and how it is to fly with a Soyuz spacecraft? Some of you already did it. Some of you will do it for the first time, but you did a lot of training. If you could just somehow describe it and just to help us understand the circumstances and the way the launch will look like. Thank you.
Luca.
Well, I don't want to spoil the fun, so. But my recollection of flying on the Soyuz, first of all, is that because it's such a tested vehicle, such proven vehicle, I went inside feeling absolutely safe. I didn't have any concern about my safety, so I really enjoyed every second of the ride. It is a bit small. That I have to say, definitely. As an Italian, I wish that maybe Ferrari could take part in the design, but other than the fact that it's designed for somebody a little smaller than I am, I really enjoyed the way up. It's incredibly smooth, and it's unbelievably close in terms of what we see and what we perceive to the simulations that we've done, both the static ones and the one in the centrifuge. So I think that most people really feel ready when they're inside. And coming back, it's the greatest roller coaster ever. So a lot of fun.
I now understand why Flight Engineer 1 gave the microphone to Flight Engineer 2. So, Prime Flight Engineer gave it to the backup crew member. Training is a great responsibility. You can compare it to what you would like to. But those who fly in the Flight Engineer 1 seat, it is a huge responsibility to pass the test with an excellent grade. It's a great responsibility.
The training, perhaps. For about a year, we're just in classrooms learning about the engineering behind the Soyuz, how every system functions, and we got to pass an exam and for each system to make sure we actually know, in principle, how the spacecraft functions in every detail. I would joke to my friends that I felt at the end that I could build a Soyuz in my backyard. Then the second part, the second year, we start to work as a crew in the simulator, which is a completely perfect imitation of a Soyuz, actually a real Soyuz spacecraft. And then we get to the practical training, where our trainers put us through various malfunctions, and train us to respond correctly following the procedures. And what always struck me in that process is that although the Soyuz is highly automated, there is always a manual way out. There's always an option or two or three options for the crew to help themselves should the system break. And that training is really what's the source of the most kind of comforting feeling about the spacecraft, that there's always an emergency exit.
Stéphanie Couillard, documentary maker. My question is for David. David, after all these years of training and hard work, discipline and technical learning, problem solving, less than 24 hours before you leave the blue planet, there must be a rush of emotions or sentimentality. How do you feel?
So this is, of course, an interesting question for everybody. How do you feel? And it is a good question because my feelings have changed in the last couple of days. I used to feel like, maybe disappointingly, I wasn't excited about this coupling space. I was just focused, and I felt like a mountain climber, you know, getting near the summit, doesn't want to trip, want to save your energy. But recently, some things have changed in my mind, and I am getting excited. I am already a little bit on my way to the launch pad, so to speak, and I catch myself fantasizing what is really going to be like up there. It's as if already my mind is wandering to orbit.
En français?
Alors, en français, oui. Comment on se sent? Une question évidemment importante et très intéressante parce que ça a changé dans ma tête comment je me sens. Pendant toutes ces années, j'avais l'impression d'être un peu décevant quand je répondais que je n'étais pas excité. En fait, j'étais plutôt concentré. Je me comparais à un alpiniste qui est en train de grimper l'Everest. Il est plutôt concentré, il ne veut pas s'enfarger, il veut économiser ses énergies. C'est comme ça que je me sentais. Mais récemment, il y a eu un déclic dans ma tête. Je me sens prêt, tout est en place. Et je me surprends à m'imaginer comment ça va vraiment être en orbite. C'est comme si mon esprit déjà était en route. Ouais.
Здравствуйте, Глеб Пельцов,
Hello. From Skolkovo.
вы бы взяли на МКС?
What kind of a super ability you would take to the ISS? A super ability? Should I be honest? Yes. I watched Venom, the most recent movie. I really liked it that a person can transform his or her abilities. For example, if I need to do an EVA, it would be the outer ego of me that I could do it without a spacesuit, and I can come back and work in the atmosphere. That would be great. Yes, that is what they're concerned about, you see. This is what the modern youth is interested in. And if you look at the three crew members of the two crews are experienced and two are new. So everybody's interested to know, did the commanders share their experience of the Baikonur traditions with the new crew members? And a question to Alexander Skvortsov about your popular post about Apollo Soyuz photograph. What does it mean? Are you trying to introduce a new tradition? Well, first of all, David and Anne have not been to space, but I wouldn't call them newbies in the space industry. David is a successful engineer and astrophysicist and a doctor, and Anne is a successful pilot. So when we were working together, we were all learning from each other. So the fact that they're flying to space for the first time is a small component of their professional accomplishments. So I didn't have to teach them anything. The question was about traditions. Well, traditions, well, it's not our first trip to Baikonur. When we were a backup crew for the first time, they were initiated into the traditions, and we're going to follow traditions. Talking about traditions, maybe it's not always in our power to create traditions, but to follow traditions and to remember and follow history. It's important. Apollo Soyuz, it's a handshake. Yesterday, we were meeting with the family members, and we realized that all the languages that we speak, they were all present at the table. We were always able to find a common language. It is such great happiness to be able to understand each other and cooperate with each other.
I just had two quick questions for you, really. The first is, because of the accident the last time, did you guys have to go through any additional training because of that? And the second, if you want to answer it, is, do you guys feel that you are kind of a bridging moment towards a new era in space travel with the appearance of these commercial companies and that are going to be obviously coming up to you when you're there, hopefully?
So to the first part of your question, the only change in our training, official change in our training, was that we got compressed at the end, so we lost a few weeks. Now, in the scheme of things, our training being a couple of years, losing a couple of weeks overall didn't have a huge impact on us. When we got here, we were briefed on the incident to make sure that we knew exactly what happened, what actions the crew took, signs and, what they saw, what they felt. So we just kind of understood what they had. But our training specifically did not change because nothing changed on the vehicle, nothing changed in our procedures. So the Soyuz is very reliable. It's been working a long time, and we'll be doing the same procedures. To your second part of the question about whether we're kind of bridging a new era in spaceflight, I'd say absolutely. It's really interesting. A couple of years ago, the way I explained it to friends, and they're saying, well, we're not launching the shuttle. What are we doing from the U.S.? And I said, just wait. The next 5 years are going to be unlike anything we've seen in spaceflight. We are currently building more vehicles for a higher variety of missions than we ever have before. Currently, within our astronaut office, which is only just around 50 astronauts, we're training on 4 different vehicles. That's unheard of. And we are continuing to fly the Soyuz to the space station in the future, as well as bringing in the international partners to fly in the commercial crew vehicles. And so, obviously, we are very excited to see the commercial crew vehicles arrive. It's important to NASA and to the international community that low Earth orbit is made available to kind of develop a low Earth orbit economy so that NASA can continue to work with our international partners and for our longer range missions.
Hello, David. Spasibo Visio. Can you talk about your home support team now that you're going to be gone for 6 months, how your wife, your family, your friends, how they're going to be helping you while you're in space? Thank you.
Well, so, this space mission started 2 years ago when I was assigned. And so my family has been needing support for 2 years already because I was out of country for most of it. So really, this is just a continuation of that 2 year. It's the last 6 months of the 2.5 year mission away from home. So we're just going to keep doing this very successful recipe that we found, which basically revolves on everybody we love lending a hand and helping us. This is really a huge teamwork on the home front from friends, families, and I'm glad because the fact that my family, the people I love most, are in such a good spot really allows me to leave with a peace of mind.
At this wonderful note, I would like to wrap up our press conference. There were so many interesting questions. Thank you to the crew members. And now the traditional photos.
Да, Luca, это уже фишечка такая, да?
Yes, Luca, this is your trademark.
Ладошки.
Yes, the hand touch.
Олег, а еще у вас селфи обычно хорошо получается на фоне.
Oleg, also what you do well.
А теперь смотрите, что. Да.
Yes, go ahead.
Спасибо вам огромное.
Thank you very much.